You're listening to the Mountain Takes. I'm Isaac. 2 mountains, 2 women's, 2 egos the size of summits. They demanded, they insisted. They refused to listen to guides who had decades of experience. And when the mountains took them, their families were left wondering why confidence matters so little at altitude. Stick around, because the real story begins now. It was the 8th of July, 2023, at approximately 7,200 meters on K2's bottleneck section in Pakistan. K2 is the second highest mountain on Earth at 8,611 meters. It is also the second deadliest. For every 4 climbers who summit K2, 1 dies. The bottleneck is a narrow gully where massive seracs hang suspended above the route. Climbers must pass through it quickly, knowing that falling ice could kill them at any moment. On the 8th of July, 2023, a climber named Melissa Ramirez, age 46, was ascending through the bottleneck with her guide. Melissa was a venture capitalist from Austin, Texas. She had summited Kilimanjaro and Denali. She believed that experience on lower mountains translated to experience on K2. She was categorically wrong. Melissa Ramirez had arrived at K2 base camp on the 20th of June, 2023, with an attitude that immediately created friction. She was wealthy. She was successful in business. She was accustomed to getting what she wanted through determination and resource allocation. She had paid $145,000 for her K2 expedition through a premium operator. She had hired a Sherpa guide named Aldridge, who had summited K2 6 times. Aldridge was experienced, skilled, and respected in the climbing community. Melissa treated him like an employee who worked on commission, which meant she believed that his job was to get her to the summit, regardless of conditions or safety protocols. By Camp 3, at 7,400 meters, Melissa's behavior had already created problems. She was pushing ahead of the acclimatization schedule. She was ignoring Aldridge's recommendations about rest days. She was insisting that they climb higher faster than safe protocols allowed. Aldridge had documented in his logbook that he had recommended slowing the pace. Melissa had responded by questioning whether he actually wanted her to summit, implying that his caution was somehow a failure on his part. On the 8th of July, Melissa and Aldridge began their push toward the summit. The weather was forecasted to hold for approximately 18 hours. Melissa was moving through the bottleneck at approximately 7,200 meters when her oxygen saturation was measured at 46%, critically low. Aldridge recommended using supplemental oxygen immediately. Melissa said she wanted to conserve oxygen for higher altitude. Aldridge explained that if her oxygen saturation was already critically low, conserving oxygen meant dying. Melissa told him that she had paid him to guide, not to lecture. At 9:30 a.m. on the 8th of July, Melissa was at approximately 7,500 meters on the bottleneck. Her movements were becoming uncoordinated. Her judgment was visibly compromised. Aldridge was supporting her physically, essentially carrying her upward. A serac above them was making ominous creaking sounds. The ice was unstable. The conditions were worsening. Aldridge made a command decision. He told Melissa they were descending immediately. Melissa refused. She said they were too close to the summit to turn back. She said she would not pay the remaining balance of her expedition fee if they descended without summiting. Aldridge attempted to force her to descend. Melissa physically resisted. She was hysterical, screaming that she had come this far, that she had paid too much, that she would not turn back. Her brain, starved of oxygen at 7,500 meters, was no longer capable of rational thought. But her determination was absolute. She pushed Aldridge away. She began climbing higher alone. Aldridge attempted to follow her. He was moving faster, trying to catch her, trying to physically stop her, but the terrain was steep and exposed. At approximately 10:15 a.m., on a section of the bottleneck covered in mixed rock and ice, Melissa's foot slipped. She fell backward. She impacted the rock, face approximately 20 meters below her starting point. The impact injuries were severe. Aldridge descended as fast as he could, reaching her in approximately 5 minutes. Melissa was unconscious. She was not breathing. Her skull had fractured. There was nothing Aldridge could do. At 10:47 a.m. on the 8th of July, 2023, at 7,300 meters on K2's bottleneck, Melissa Ramirez died. She had ignored her guide's warnings 4 times in the final 2 hours of her life. Dorje descended alone, traumatized. In interviews afterward, he said, "I told her we had to go down. She said she was paying for a summit. I told her the ice was unstable. She said I was being fearful. I told her oxygen was critical. She said I was trying to sabotage her. At some point, I realized I was trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved. The mountain doesn't negotiate with egos." It was May 14, 2023, at approximately 6:45 a.m. at Camp 3 on Mount Annapurna's north face in Nepal. The altitude was 7,500 meters. The temperature was -35 degrees Celsius. A climber named Christine Aldridge, age 51, was preparing for her summit push. Christine was a social media influencer from Los Angeles with 612,000 Instagram followers. She had built her brand around wellness, fitness, and motivational content. She had posted repeatedly about her Annapurna attempt, telling her followers that she was going to summit and inspire millions. She had sponsored gear companies who had provided equipment in exchange for social media promotion. She had made commitments to her followers that she would summit. Christine had arrived at Annapurna Base Camp on the 20th of April 2023 with a photographer, a videographer, and a content team. Her expedition was not primarily about climbing the mountain. It was about documenting her climb for social media. Every camp was photographed. Every moment of struggle was filmed for authenticity. Every rest break was captioned with motivational quotes. Her guide, a Sherpa named Pemba, with 20 years of Annapurna experience, had attempted to establish basic safety protocols. Christine had rejected them. She said that authentic content required real struggle, real difficulty, real documentation. Safety protocols, in her view, would make the content look staged. By Camp 2, Christine's oxygen saturation was already compromised at 62%. Pemba had recommended she descend and attempt Annapurna in a future year. Christine had responded by filming his recommendation and then posting it to her Instagram stories with the caption, "Even my guide thinks I'm too strong for this mountain. Fitness no limits, Annapurna will not stone." Pemba had been horrified. He understood that her post was not just documenting her attempt, it was committing her publicly to continuing, regardless of safety. Turning back now would look like failure to her 612,000 followers. On May 14, Christine and Pemba began their summit push from Camp 3. Christine's oxygen saturation was 58%. Her breathing was labored. Her movements were slow. Pemba suggested using supplemental oxygen immediately. Christine said she wanted to earn her summit without oxygen. It would be more authentic for her followers. Pemba explained that authenticity meant nothing if she was dead. Christine filmed his explanation and posted it to Instagram with commentary about how guides try to limit us with fear. By 10 a.m. on May 14, Christine was at approximately 8,000 meters. Her oxygen saturation had dropped to 44%. Her brain was being destroyed by the altitude. Her judgment was completely compromised. She was hallucinating, seeing things that weren't there, hearing voices that didn't exist. Pemba was supporting her, essentially dragging her upward, because turning back now would mean admitting failure to her followers. Christine's desperation to summit was no longer about mountaineering. It was about maintaining her brand. At 11:30 a.m., Christine collapsed on the mountain at approximately 8,050 meters. Her body could no longer function. Her oxygen saturation was 38%. Her brain was swelling from cerebral edema. Her lungs were filling with fluid from pulmonary edema. Pemba attempted to administer supplemental oxygen and to lower her toward Camp 3. But Christine's weight, combined with her complete incapacity and the exposed terrain, made descent nearly impossible for one person. Pemba called for assistance via radio. Other guides and climbers nearby responded. A rescue effort began, but at 8,000 meters in deteriorating weather conditions, rescue is almost impossible. By 2 p.m. on May 14, Christine's breathing had stopped. Her heart had stopped. Her body had simply failed under the impossible conditions of extreme altitude, combined with severe hypoxia and cerebral edema. At 2:47 p.m. on May 14, 2023, at 8,050 meters on Mount Annapurna's north face. Christine Aldridge died. Pemba descended alone. He did not work as a guide for the remainder of 2023. In a statement to the expedition operator, he wrote, "I told her 5 times we needed to descend. She said her followers were watching. I told her oxygen was critical. She said she wanted to earn her summit. I told her she would die. She said that was authentic. The mountain does not care about authenticity or followers. It only cares about oxygen saturation. When oxygen fails, everything else fails with it." Christine's Instagram account remained active after her death. Her followers posted thousands of comments, some mourning her, some claiming she had died doing what she loved, some using her death as content for their own posts. Her final Instagram story, posted at 11:47 a.m. on May 14, showed her at high altitude with the caption, "The mountain is trying to stop me, but I'm stronger than fear. Nothing can stop." The post was made approximately 17 minutes before she lost consciousness.